Hey, I'm Grant with Grant's Game Rex. Welcome to my monthly video on the best games coming to retail. These are games you can get at your friendly local game stores, you can get at online marketplaces, some of them you can even get in like big box stores. And I always recommend that you check out a friendly local game store and support them if you can, but I also understand that not everybody lives near a friendly local game store, so these are available sort of any way you can get a game easily and immediately. Every month I run down about 25 of the best games hitting retail, and I'm in touch with over 400 publishers to do this, so hopefully it is a fairly exhaustive list, though I'm sure I miss things sometimes. I try to include games for all types of gamers here. You're going to find games for casual games, for family games, for hardcore gamers, all that different stuff. So here are about 25 of the best games hitting retail in January 2024. Happy New Year, everybody! Kicking off January, we have Coffee Rush from Asmodee. This is a lighter game for 2 to 4 players, plays in about 30 minutes, all about fulfilling coffee orders. You are not somebody drinking coffee in the game, you are somebody making coffee, and you get slammed with a bunch of orders, and you gotta try to complete orders the fastest and the most efficiently. And so, it's a sort of a contract fulfillment game where you are getting ingredients and using those ingredients to fulfill recipe cards, to fill orders. And one of the unique things about it is there will be a central board and you are moving a meeple around the board to get resources, to get certain ingredients, and the component quality in this game is really, really nice. You'll have little coffee mugs, these little glass mugs. You'll have these chunky pieces of ingredients, and you'll put them in your different coffee cups to fulfill orders, and it looks really cool. Component-wise, for sure. So if you're a big fan of coffee, if you've always wanted to be a barista, it's a stressful job. It's a stressful job. I don't know why you've been dreaming of it, but it's, if you love coffee, then check out Coffee Rush. Asmodee, in association with Matago, is releasing Alan and Bobby's Block and Guess. This is a party game for 3 to 8 players, plays in about 30 minutes. And in Block and Guess, there are these big, chunky wooden blocks. That's the block part of the name, and you will be trying to use the blocks, arrange them in different ways, stack them, put them next to each other, to try to get someone to guess which one of the words it is on a card out here. So everybody will know the card. You'll know the 7, I think it is, possible words that this is, and you are arranging it. But the trick of the game is that you don't get to pick the blocks for yourself that you're going to use. The other team picks your blocks for you. They give you 3 blocks and you give them 3 blocks, and so you're obviously trying to give them blocks that aren't going to communicate the word very well. And then if your team can't get it, then you'll get some more blocks, and then you can add on, and then you're trying to guess it. The game plays in 4 rounds, and it's just a guessing, a little bit of a dexterity with arranging these big chunky blocks. And it's from some well-known designers, Alan Moon and Bobby West. That's why it's Alan and Bobby's Block and Guess. This is not Stephen Marks. You get out of here, Stephen Mark. Alan and Bobby came up with this game. I don't want to hear anything from you, Peter and Joseph. All right, Asmodee and CMYK are releasing the medium weight cooperative game Daybreak. This plays 1 to 4 players in 60 to 120 minutes, and it is a chunkier cooperative game. I find that a lot of cooperative games are sort of lighter fare, the majority of them out there. This is a cooperative game that really falls solidly into that medium weight strategy category. It is about climate change and about climate action. You are each person is playing as a different world power, and you'll all have some asymmetric abilities and powers, and then you are deploying technology, you are making new policies, all in the goal of dismantling the engine of global heating and bringing the Earth's temperature down. If the temperature gets too high, you're going to lose the game. There's multiple ways that you can lose the game. But, you know, cooperative in that when the climate crisis gets out of control, everybody loses. We all lose. And so, you know, this seems like a good game if you like crunchier cooperative games. It also seems like a good game for like a high school classroom or something like that. Put this in a science classroom and you can learn all about like reducing global emissions and being carbon neutral and things like that. So I was an environmental science major in college, so I like that these types of things are being represented in board games these days. I don't know, it's pretty cool to me. CMYK, in association with Asmodee, is also releasing the game Lacuna. This is a two-player only game, very light game, plays in 10 to 15 minutes, and it's a very pretty abstract game. The box, it's not a box, it's like a cylinder, but the cylinder is functional because you'll have all these flower tiles in the cylinder, and then you're shaking them out onto this board to get a random distribution of your flower tiles. And then each player, one after the other, will be placing one of their piece down in between two pieces of the same color, and then getting those things. You're getting those flower tokens. And then after everybody has put down all their pieces and collected their flower tokens, then you collect all of the flower tokens that are closer to your piece than an opponent's piece. So you sort of go around the board, and then whoever has the majority of pieces in various different colors is going to win the game. So, you know, it's very quick, right? It's just boom, 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 placing down stuff, getting flower tokens, and then figuring out who has the majority. But it's really pretty on the table for sure. It's nice and abstract, and you know, this is one that you could teach to kids, you could teach to anybody. They say you know, that it's ages 8 and up, but I feel like you could probably play this with 7-year-olds. I believe in your 7-year-olds. You got smart 7-year-olds out there. They could play this game for sure. Asmodee and Rebel Studio are releasing MLEM, Space Agency. I hope I'm saying that right. MLEM. It sort of feels like you're clearing your throat. MLEM. MLEM. That's how I say it. Then whenever I say, does anybody want to play MLEM? This is a 2 to 5 player game, a lighter weight strategic game, maybe in that pushing into that sort of lighter medium weight category. Plays in 30 to 60 minutes, 2 to 5 players. This is from famous designer Reiner Knizia, and it is a push your luck dice rolling game, but with a lot of other things going on. It's not just a pure push your luck dice rolling game, but if you like dice rolling, if you like push your luck, then this might be one to check out for you. It is, you are cats in spaceships. This is a future where humans don't exist anymore. Cats have taken over, and they're big and creepy and hopefully still cuddly. We don't know because no humans are around anymore. And so you are rolling dice and moving a spaceship up this track. But you have to roll specific things to move like each spot will have specific numbers that you have to roll to move it up. And then at different points, there are planets that sort of connect to various spots as you go up. So at any point, an individual player can jump off the ship onto one of those planets and say, I think we're going to bust. We're not going to roll what we need to roll, and so I'm going to jump off and get points. Or you can stay on the ship, advance the ship, and then hopefully you roll what you need, but you're always losing dice. You'll have less and less dice as you go, and so it's you know, it's just that tension of like, oh, do I want to keep going higher up the track? Because as you can imagine, the higher up you go, the more points those planets are worth. And so I love a good push your luck game. I love the tension that's in push your luck games where you're like, oh, I don't know what to do right now. Let's ride or die, baby. I'm always a ride or die guy. That's what I tell myself in my heart, and then the reality is I definitely wimp out sometimes. So, but yeah, if you like cats, if you like pushing your luck, if you like space themes, then check out MLEM Space Agency. Asmodee and Space Cowboys are releasing the game Marabunta. This is also a game from Reiner Knizia. This is a two-player only game, a medium weight game, plays in 30 to 45 minutes. This is unique in that it is a head-to-head roll and write game. You are each representing an ant colony, and you are you're sort of expanding your ant colonies out in the board, and so there's a territory control, area control aspect of the game for sure. But it also adds in the unique mechanism, the I split you choose, which is a mechanism I love a lot, but you don't see it in as many games. I feel like it's not, it's an underutilized mechanism, the I split you choose, because it's always an interesting choice, right? Of like, I want to make sure I get this, so I need to make this juicier for the other player, but I don't want to overgive them stuff. And so in this game, you are splitting some stuff, offering it to your opponent, and they get to choose, and you get whatever is left over. It says you write down your decisions on an erasable puzzle board, creating a dynamic gaming experience that evolves with each playthrough. So if you want a two-player only sort of roll and write area control game, Marabunta seems pretty unique to me. There's not a lot of like head-to-head roll and write games for sure. And ant colonies, that's fun, Asmodee and Matago are releasing the game Brigands. This plays 2 to 6 players in 25 to 50 minutes, and it is a lighter medium weight strategy game. And I'll say every video about this game is in French. There's nothing in English yet, so I don't have my head wrapped around it completely. But what seems to be happening in the game is one player plays as the prince, and then everyone else plays as brigands in the game. And so there's an asymmetrical aspect to it in that respect. And the prince has a different goal than the brigands do. The prince must protect the coffers of the city against the brigands, and then the brigands are trying to steal 50 ducats from the kingdom at the end of 6 game turns. So, one or the other can be victorious based on what happens. But one of the things that caught my attention about it, one of the things that I like about it, even though I don't know everything that's happening in the game, is that you are sending 3 of your crew members out to a district of your choice, and each player is doing this simultaneously and in secret, and then the prince can decide where to go to. And so you are trying to not get caught by the prince. You want to go to districts and areas that the prince is not going to, and I love those types of games where you're doing something in secret and trying to outsmart the other player and trying to guess what their motivation is and then change your motivation accordingly. And so each of those districts is going to allow you to loot the treasure in different ways and get you different abilities. But I like those, that sort of secret and simultaneous choices in the game. Sounds cool. Chip Theory Games is releasing 20 Strong. 20 Strong is unique for Chip Theory Games in that Chip Theory Games is known for their big games with big productions, big boxes, great components. This still has the great component quality, but this is a small box game. This is the smallest box game I think that Chip Theory has ever done. It is a solo-only game, though, you know, with a solo game, you can certainly play it with another player cooperatively and make choices together. But it's designed as a solo game, and it is each game of it takes 30 to 45 minutes, and it is a medium weight game. 20 Strong is sort of a system, and so there are 3 games in the 20 Strong system right now. One of them is based on their world of Too Many Bones, one of them is based on their world of Hoplomachus Victorum, and then one is a brand new world called Solar Sentinels. But in the game, you have a big set of dice of different colors, of different strength, and you are going through a deck and fighting bad guys or completing objectives all while using some of your dice, and you can't run out of dice and you don't want to take too much damage from the bad guys. So it's just an interesting deck of cards and assigning your dice in different ways, and there's a gambling aspect where you're like, which dice am I going to use? Am I going to use my more powerful dice right now but then risk losing them, or am I going to use my weaker dice and so I save my powerful dice for later? Each of the decks, each of the Too Many Bones, the Hoplomachus Victorum, they use the same set of dice, but they all have their own unique bad guys, their own unique objectives, their own sort of asymmetric rule set. There's an overarching rule set, but then each of those decks plays a bit differently to give you different challenges in the game. So, yeah, if you're looking for a solo game, check out 20 Strong. Exploding Kittens is releasing the party game That Escalated Quickly. This is a Target exclusive right now, so if you want this one, you gotta go to Target. It is a party game that plays, a bunch of players. Let's see, it plays, I think it plays 2 to 8 players and plays in about 15 minutes. So, very silly game. In the game, you are working together to put absurd things in the right order. So, you'll have some weird prompts, like, you're locked in a tiny room. What else is locked in there with me from cutest to scariest? And then everybody plays a card, and a 1, and you give it a ranking from 1 to 10. And a 1 might be a bunny, and a 10 is a grizzly bear with chainsaw arms. Oh no, how'd this grizzly bear get chainsaw arms? That sounds scary, bro. Is that what Cocaine Bear, the movie Cocaine Bear, is about? A bear with chainsaw arms. And then each player is giving an answer to that silly prompt, and then the person who read the question has to try to sort all of those answers into the right order between 1 and 10. So, your answer was this, I'm going to slot that before that one, and that sort of stuff. So obviously very silly, meant to be tongue-in-cheek, meant to, nice cooperative party game. If you like silliness, then check out That Escalated Quickly. Floodgate Games is releasing the game Skyrockets. This is sort of a standalone game, a sequel, if you will, to Kites, their game that came out a couple of years ago. It is a cooperative game where you are going to be flipping sand timers over, and if any of the sand timers run out, you lose the game. So I'll mention that I do this video, the best games coming to retail, but then I also do another video on the sort of best new additions hitting retail every month, and that video includes updated versions of games from 10, 15, 20 years ago. It also includes re-implementations of games. Sometimes someone takes some mechanisms from games and gives it a new title, gives it a new box cover, things like that. And so this one I was like, do I include this one in that one? Because BGG says that it re-implements Kites, but I disagree in the sense that, like, yeah, it uses some of the core mechanisms, but the whole idea behind Skyrockets is that in Kites it was sort of the same goal every time. You were just trying to play through cards without having sand timers run out. And it was a really good game for families or new gamers, things like that. Well, Skyrockets is like the gamer version of Kites to me. This is a game where you're doing the same thing, where you're flipping over sand timers, but there's a ton of different missions that change the rules of the game, that get harder and harder as you go along. And so it's almost like the crew mixed with kites. You are still trying to keep the sand timers from running out, but the way you are doing that is different all the time. And it literally changes the board state. It changes all the types of stuff. So, you know, it's interesting to play through different challenges. If you've played kites, but you're kind of like, yeah, I've seen what that game has to offer. Well, Skyrockets is the next level up from kites, and it's really fun and unique to try to work through all of the different challenges in the game. There are 30 unique challenges in the game, so definitely a lot to play through. Inside Up Games is releasing the game Draft and Write Records. This is a card drafting writing game. I always feel writing sounds weird. It's like a roll and write, but instead of rolling, you're drafting cards and then writing. So, you know, it's that same thing where you are, you know, your boards, you have different options and you're filling in things and connecting things and stuff like that. Draft and Write Records plays 1 to 6 players, 30 to 60 minutes, and it is a medium weight game. And it's all about being a great band. That's the whole idea, the theme of the game, and I think they did a good job with that theme. I had a chance to play this one at a convention 9 months ago or something like that, and so this one is you're doing things like you're recruiting different band members, you are going on tour and there's a map portion, you are getting different resources. Hey, do we want money? Do we want new equipment? Things like that. You have colored pencils, so when you draft different band members, you are going to be filling in colors, and if you can connect certain colors, it will get you bonuses. And so that's an interesting aspect of the game, is trying to connect different colors in your band with your people and that sort of stuff. So yeah, it's one of these, you know, I feel like roll and writes used to be pretty simple. This is, in the last few years, there have been more crunchier roll and writes, and this certainly isn't Hadrian's Wall, but it is, there's a lot more going on to it than just a casual roll and write. And I like drafting. This is one of those ones where you're passing cards around the table, drafting what you want, passing, drafting what you want, and that's always a fun mechanism for me. So that's Draft and Write Records. Kids Table Board Games is releasing the game Maple Valley. This was on my top anticipated games of 2023, and now it is finally coming out here in the first of 2024. So I'm happy that it is coming out. This is a sequel. This is a sequel to the game Creature Comforts, also from Kids Table Board Games. It's a different game, but it's set in the same world. It's set in the same universe. In Creature Comforts, you were preparing for winter. Now winter is done and spring has arrived. And so in this game, you were sort of preparing for the big spring festival. It plays 1 to 5 players in 45 to 75 minutes, and it is a medium weight game. There's almost like a deck building aspect to the game a bit, because you will be moving your workers along these paths and recruiting friends. And those friends are going to get you different abilities and different things like that. And so you are trying to recruit the best friends for you that sort of build a little bit of a cool combo. And you know, one of the interesting things is it's not a worker placement game, it's a worker movement game. You will be choosing different trails and moving along different trails, and those trails will dictate what you can recruit and what's happening for your strategy. And so that it feels like a unique way to do worker placement a little bit. And just like Creature Comforts, it's insanely cute. All of the, this one's probably even cuter because you are not adults preparing for the winter. You are little kids preparing for the spring festival. And so it's animals, but now make them young and even cuter in this game. So I love the artwork in it. I loved Creature Comforts. It made my top 10 of the year, the year it came out, I believe 2022, and so this is one I'm very excited to try as the sequel to Creature Comforts. That is Maple Valley. Lucky Duck Games is releasing the game Sweet Mess. Sweet Mess has sort of an interesting backstory in that it was a Kickstarter campaign that was successful, but the company folded and wasn't going to deliver it. And then Fantasia Games came in to deliver some of it, but they were only, I think Fantasia Games is only doing the deluxe version of the game. Well, Lucky Duck Games is taking over the retail version of it. So if you want the deluxe version, that's being handled by Fantasia Games. I'm talking about the retail version from Lucky Duck Games. And it should be noted, they said they did a very small run of this. So if you want it, it probably won't be available for very long. Now, this retail version is not going to have all of the, game trays, and I'm sure it'll still be nice, but it doesn't have all of the component upgrades that the Fantasia Games version will have. But in the game, Sweet Mess, it's a pastry competition, and so you are getting different ingredients and trying to fulfill ingredients to make stuff. But there's all these different circular tiles on the board, and they'll have ingredients about it. And so you can sort of take ingredients off of some, and then it'll scatter ingredients to other tiles here. And so you are, if you like recipe fulfillment, this is a game that has a lot of that. This is a real solidly medium weight game as well. So we talked about earlier, Coffee Rush was a recipe fulfillment game. Coffee Rush, a lot lighter. Sweet Mess plays 1 to 4 players in 45 to 90 minutes and is much more of that medium weight game. So if you like bacon pastries, this is your chance to do it. I don't like baking pastries, but I love eating pastries. I'm happy to make a deal with anybody out there. You bake, I'll eat, that sounds great to me. Ludonate, in association with Flat River Group, is releasing the game Archeologic. This is a deduction game, plays 1 to 4 players in 45 minutes, and it is a medium weight game. In the game, it is, somewhat abstract for sure. Thematically, you're trying to find the right location of the buildings in the city, but it's pretty abstract. And so you have all these polyomino tiles, and you're arranging them in your board, and you have to leave 3 spaces empty. So, they all fit in your player board. That's not the problem, but you don't know which spaces to sort of leave empty. So you're going to arrange it, and then there's this cool contraption that you're going to put over it, and that cool contraption will reveal some information. And then you're going to rearrange all the tiles to try to figure out the solution, and then you'll check if that's right, and if not, then you're going to keep sort of rearranging your tiles, trying to figure out the right way to puzzle them together. So it really much is a puzzle game. It's almost like you're putting together a jigsaw puzzle without seeing the cover of the, jigsaw puzzles get easy because you know what you're making. Well, what if you're making a jigsaw puzzle where you have no idea what it is? That's what this game is. One of the cool things, too, that I like about it is it seems like it scales pretty well in difficulty. You can get some clues at the start of the game, and those clues will help you along, help you figure out the puzzle, and you can get more clues or less clues to make the game easier or harder there when you start it. So if you're a fan of, games like Search for Planet X or Search for Lost Species, this is that competitive deduction game where you're trying to figure out the solution to some problem. Osprey Games is releasing Sankore, the Pride of Mansa Musa. If you are a fan of heavyweight Euro games, this is our first heavyweight game of the month. This is probably the heaviest weight game that is coming out here in January. So if you are looking for a new heavyweight game, this one might be for you. Plays 1 to 4 players in 150 to 180 minutes. Like most heavyweight games, there are a lot of different mechanisms, a lot of different ways to score points, a lot of different avenues to victory, a lot of different strategies to explore. Thematically, you are competing to manage the best school of a university in 14th century Timbuktu. And it is, very much that that Euro-y type of game where a lot of components, a lot of stuff going on. You are enrolling and graduating pupils, you are teaching classes, you're adding to your curriculum, you're filling the great library with books, you're advancing knowledge in 4 main disciplines: theology, law, mathematics, and astronomy. And once construction of the university is complete, the value that the Empire places on each discipline will dramatically affect how you score the knowledge you have passed on. So that's a cool theme, you know, definitely passing on knowledge. And there is a robust solo mode in it as well, it notes. So if you're a fan of solo challenges, this one might be for you for that reason as well. That's Sankore, the Pride of Mansa Musa from Osprey Games. Pandasaurus Games is releasing the game Look at the Stars. This is a lighter weight game, plays 2 to 8 players, and is 20 to 30 minutes. This is not a party game though, so that's one of the things that caught my attention about it. There aren't that many games that play 8 players that aren't party games. It's still a lightweight game, but a lightweight strategy game. You are drawing your own vision of the night sky. There will be some decks of cards, and you're going to flip over a card from that deck, and it will tell you which pattern, which line you have to draw on your own player board. So there's a roll and write aspect to the game for sure, a flip and write, I suppose. You're flipping that card, looking at that, and then everybody is going to be drawing the same thing, but you can choose anywhere on your board to draw it. Your night sky is going to look different than my night sky based on the choices you made, and there's ways to get bonuses, there's ways to score points in different ways, and at the end, you're creating different constellations. You have various constellations on your own board, and it looks really pretty for sure. And you're going to score points for the constellations of different sizes. You're going to score for planets, shooting stars, and other bonuses. You know, and it's all simultaneous play. You're flipping over and we're all making our own choice. So that's one of the reasons it plays pretty quickly, even though there's some interesting choices in the game. With all the simultaneous play, it won't take us longer than 30 minutes to play. I love simultaneous play. I love quick, snappy turns, and this is a game that definitely has it. If you like looking at the stars, if you like, you know, the night sky, it would stand to reason that a game called Look at the Stars is good for people who like looking at the stars. They kind of nailed it with that name. Pegasus Spiele is releasing multiple games to retail this month. The first I'll talk about is Havalandi. This plays 2 to 4 players in 45 to 60 minutes and is a lighter medium weight game. In the game, it's a bit abstract. There is a hot air balloon that is moving around the board, and the hot air balloon has 2 arrows on it, so it will indicate which sort of rows that you can put your player piece down in. It is highlighting a few of those things, and so then you're going to put down your own hot air balloons in those different areas. And, you know, if you look at the board, you'll see a lot of different colors. And so you're trying to create majorities in specific colors, or not majorities as much as groupings. You're going to score points for groupings of your own player color that is only in a single territory. You're going to score points for placing next to these specific buildings on the board. Yeah, so it's just all about clever placement. And it's certainly a bit of an abstract game, but I love the theme of hot air balloons and stuff. That's not one that I've seen that much, but you know, you're all just placing on a bit of an abstract board all your different stuff and trying to create groupings of your own hot air balloons with your clever placement. So if you like some abstract games that have a fun theme on top of it, then check out Havalandi. Pegasus Spiele is also releasing the game 5 Towers. This is a lighter weight family style game. So if you're looking for someone, they say this one plays ages 7 and up. So if you're looking for a game to play for family game night, 5 Towers might be a good one for you. Plays in 2 to 5 players in 15 to 30 minutes. And in the game, you are building 5 different towers, 5 different types. They all have different colors and art that goes with the 5 different possible towers in the game. But to build a tower, you can only build in descending order. And so you are drafting cards. It's kind of an interesting auction game because there will be a market of cards and you are not getting rid of anything in the auction. You're basically saying how many cards you're willing to take out of that row, because not all the cards are going to be good for you. If you can't place a card, that goes into a negative point pile for you. And so it's the one-upping. Someone will say, I can take 2 of those cards, and the next person can say, I'm going to take 3, and then the other person can say, I'm going to take 4, and then this person's going to be like, take 4. I'm not going higher than that. And so then you'll have to take the cards and put the ones out on your towers that you can put in descending order and sort of lose points for the ones that you can't. So still very light, but I like that interesting choice of you could sacrifice some points to get other cards that you want. Maybe you're like willing to take more because one of those is great for you and builds your tower up super high. And then at the end of the game, you're going to score points for each of your tower's height in the game. So yeah, that is 5 towers. Pegasus Spiele is also releasing Moorland. This plays 2 to 4 players in 45 to 60 minutes, and it is a medium weight game. In Moorland, it's a bit of an abstract game. A moor is sort of a swampy area, a wetland, if you will. And so in this, you are getting cards and putting them on top of your board to sort of expand your area of marshland, and you're creating pathways of rivers that then you can move different plant tokens around those rivers, and then you can populate different cards around your own personal board, and you can get animal species on there as well. And so you are trying to you're trying to cleverly link your waterways so that then you can distribute plants all around your moor, and you're going to score points for having diverse habitat for various animal species, and you're competing to build the best ecosystem here in Moorland. So, but it's all about that sort of puzzly aspect of creating these linking waterways to then move your little plant meeples and stuff like that. So if you like nature games, there's been a lot of them, but this is another one for you. We got another nature game for you. And the last game Pegasus Spiele is releasing in January is Pray Another Day. This game is 2 to 5 players, plays in 15 to 20 minutes, and it is a lightweight card game. Everybody will have the same 5 cards in their hand, and you are simultaneously picking one to put out on the table. And it's a simple rule set, but interesting decisions, because basically the way it works is if you play the largest animal, a bear, then you're going to call out any animal that's smaller than that. If someone has played that animal, you then eat it. Or, maybe there's none of that, and then you go down to the next one. Anybody that's played a wolf, then you can pick an animal smaller than that one. But the smaller the animal you play, and you get away with it without getting eaten, you're going to get more points that way. So it's just that interesting trying to outsmart what other people are gonna play at the table. And so, I like those games where everybody has the same set of cards and there's just a lot of intrigue and suspicion around the table. And it says the first player to capture 5 food markers will be crowned the Munch King. I want to be the Munch King. I mean, I already kind of am. I'm a snacky boy, I want people to start calling me that when I'm snacking. I'm a Munch King. Want them crunchies and munchies. Flat River Group, in association with Seabrook Studios, is releasing the game 10 Wickets. This is a two-player only game, plays in 20 to 30 minutes, and it is another lightweight game. This is a game about the game cricket, which I know nothing about. I couldn't even tell you the rules of cricket. It's wild to me that cricket is so popular around the world and almost no Americans know about it at all. I mean, obviously there are some Americans, but I feel like it is not a sport that a lot of Americans know about. Like, I was actually watching football last weekend and we were just discussing like which sports leagues have the highest salaries around the world, and you might be shocked to learn that the Indian Premier League, the number one cricket league in the world, has the second highest salary of any sports league in the world. The only one that's higher than it is the NBA. The cricket players make more than the NFL, Major League Baseball, the NHL, all of that. It's wild. So in this game, this is an auction game, and you are auctioning, you are trying to get the cards. There are 3 cards in the center of the table, and you are auctioning to try to get them. But the way you're auctioning is different than other games. You are giving up runs in order to get certain cards here. And so how many runs are you willing to give up to get that card that you might want? And so only at the end of the game, when somebody has 10 of those cards represent wickets, why the game is called 10 wickets. When somebody has 10 of those cards, whoever gave up the fewest runs to get their cards is going to win the game. So yeah, you want to have the most runs in order to win the game. So you want the other person to give up more. So yeah, interesting way to do an auction game for sure. Sit Down Games, in association with Flat River Group, is releasing Maps of Misterra. This plays 1 to 4 players in 45 to 60 minutes, and it is a lighter to medium weight game. You are moving around the board, exploring, placing down tiles in order to explore the board. But the way you're doing that is different. You will move your explorer around, and then you can sort of play a card that allows you to see certain areas. And then you're going to put tiles down that match the terrain types on the card that you played. But all the terrain tiles go down on their mist side. So it's like you're kind of seeing it, but you're not fully seeing it because it's shrouded in mist. And then if you can sort of discover that area again, then you're going to flip it over to its permanent side, which means that things can change. You know, you're put a tile down that's like mountain, and then somebody else comes around and goes, no, that's desert, and switches it until it becomes permanent. And within all of that sort of tile changing on the board, you are trying to claim areas. You're trying to get control of certain areas, and then there's an area majority aspect to the game. And it says you want to have your you want to find an ideal balance between your personal objectives and a correct cartography of the island. So interesting push and pull there with what you're playing down. Solus Game Studio is releasing Space Lion, Divide and Conquer. This plays 2 to 5 players in 30 to 60 minutes, and it is a lighter to light medium weight game. This is an asymmetric game. There are 5 asymmetric armies, 5 asymmetric factions in the game. All of them are going to have their own unique systems, have their own concerns on the battlefield, and so I like games with some asymmetry in the characters because there's certainly replayability in that. You can play a different faction and sort of discover how that faction plays. In the game, you are going to be playing cards. You're going to be sequencing your army of 7 cards into 3 battlefields. You have a battlefield in front of you, 1 to the right, and 1 to the left. And so you're deciding how to play your cards down to fight on multiple fronts. You know, that adds some interesting, where are they going? Are they coming at me? Are they coming at them? And so, yeah, and it's all about those card combos, right? You want to build cool combos between the different people in your army, the different cards in your army. So, Yeah, if you like some asymmetric card games, check out Space Lion Divide and Conquer. Sophisticated Cerberus, in association with Flat River Group, is releasing the game The Stifling Dark. Ooh, I love that name. That would be a great movie name. That's just a great name in general. The Stifling Dark. It sounds so intense. It plays 2 to 5 players in 60 to 120 minutes, and it is a solidly medium weight game. This is a one versus many hidden movement game. So one player plays as the butcher and other players play as people trying to survive and escape. One of the cool things is there are some objectives that can change throughout the game, and so sometimes you're just trying to escape, and other times you can sort of fight and damage the butcher. So you're not just, a timid person trying to find the exit. You can sort of take the offensive at times during the game. You'll be moving around the board, as I mentioned. There is, hidden movement. The butcher will be hidden a lot of times. You are moving around the board as a potential survivor, and you can pick up and use items that will help you. You can lock and unlock doors, and then you have flashlights, and those flashlights add a unique line of sight mechanism to the game, because you are shining a flashlight to potentially see the butcher, to figure out where your adversary is. But the flashlight is represented by a literal plastic piece that you will attach to your character that will have a field of view in it. So you can see anything that is sort of within this, within the, field of view of this flashlight. And so that's a cool thing, moving around, shining a flashlight, seeing if you can catch somebody. So if you like horror themed, if you like intense sort of dark games, The Stifling Dark feels like it definitely captures that for sure. I mean, this is a game that I'd want to play like during the Halloween season and get into the mood for sure. So yeah, that's all I have for you this month. That was 24 of the best games coming to retail. I keep a spreadsheet of all of the games coming to retail throughout the year. I got all the year mapped out and stuff. Things change, but if you want access to the spreadsheet, that's actually one of the perks I have on my Patreon, patreon.com/Grants GameRex, and then you can get access to the spreadsheet and see all when games are coming up. Get excited for things that are coming out at certain points of the year. So we're gonna have a lot of great games here in 2024 for sure. As always, thank you for watching this video. Thank you for subscribing, for liking, for sharing, all that stuff. I love this board game community. I'm Grant with Grant's GameRex.